Okay, comic reviews of the last few library books until I get a new batch of them. And I'm gonna go today either way to the library because today is the best day to go. And if I wait, I can't go tomorrow. Like Brian won't be able to get me tomorrow. But worst case, what I'll do is I'll just have someone else get them the last remaining books. It's like six of them that haven't come in yet. That I'm waiting on. And sometimes the library has, sometimes that shit happens. But hoping and praying that at least, very least, those books come in today. But, don't know. And as for the Amazon book that was supposed to come in today, it's playing that same stupid game. Where it's like, oh, we could have left the facility, but we decided to stay there for over 12 hours for no reason. And it's the second time we've done this. It's the same facility. I don't know if, there's a new regulation. I doubt that's the case. But I know it happens twice at the same facility. It's so annoying. I wish they would. It'd be nice if there's a pre-order. It'd be nice if they just said, oh, it's gonna be 3 days instead of 2 days. It's the way the cookie crumbles, and I'm fine with that, but it's like it's a pre-order. I wanted to get the day it came out, and it doesn't made no sense. But anyways, let's get on with it. With the first review being Ultimate X-Men Volume 2. And at this point in the game, just with Volume 2, I kind of understood why my local comic shop was selling this trade for $3.99. It is just okay. I don't know if just kind of the momentum seems kind of lost, but it does pick up after, and it does end on a cliffhanger kind of thing, and I was interested in checking out Volume 3. And now what's kind of nice is that Volume 3, I have the Ultimate Collection, Complete Collection, and so I'll be reading that. Or I'll be doing Volume 3. I have Volume 3, the regular volume like this, or I can read it in the Complete Collection trade. Because these books I've had for a very long time. Since 2015 I've had these books. That's 10 years now, actually. The reason for why that is because, come on, brain. Kick in. So it is, I hadn't read them for so long, I thought I would be getting I thought I'd get the whole entire trade. Like, all the trades for Ultimate X-Men, I'd read it, binge read it, but that hasn't happened. It looks like the library will have, hopefully the whole entire series, or at least Mark Millar's run. That'd be kind of nice. Or at least past Volume 16. Because back in the day, so this is also something I did back in the day, is this shows how long I've been collecting comics and how long ago this truly was that I bought this trade. I just buy quantity of quality. Oh, Spider-Man Volume 2 is $1.99. Oh, and X-Men Volume 700 is $2.99. And it was just quantity of quality. I just pick up books. Oh, I got this fat stack of trades. Sure, they're all out of order and random ass volumes, and none of them are even Volume 1 at the very least. But I got 10 trades for $20, and there was just quantity of quality. And instead of getting, again, House of M, I still remember to this day. To this day? Yeah, that's how you say it. Because honestly, the House of M trade is very expensive. But I was either able to get that, and I think Old Man Logan at the same time, or something like that, or get a bunch of quantity over quality trades. I think I have House of M and Old Man Logan, but I think I said, you know what, quantity over quality. But I don't do that anymore. Yeah, okay, you've seen comic halls have a huge stack of books, but at least it's consecutive volumes 1 and 2. If I already have volumes 1 and 2, and volume 3 just released, volume 3. I have a book that I ordered that's volume 4 of a series, but I have the first 3 volumes of that series. But anyways, going back to this, just okay. Not a whole lot to say about this one. 6 out of 10. Again, it did end. The cliffhanger did hype me up for the next volume enough, but I don't know. And it started out pretty good too. The first issue, had really good pacing and a really good setup. And I think it was just 6 issues too long. I think the whole entire series could have been maybe 4 issues. Just cutting 2 issues. I think that's all I had to do. And that's also by Mark Millar, and now we have the Ultimates 2 by Mark Millar, and this is really damn good. It definitely had to be, maybe it could have been 12 issues, but I never felt that pacing issues with this. Sometimes it got a little wordy, sometimes like, the conversations and the dialogue got to be a bit too much, like it was like, you can cut it here, cut it here, cut it there, but no real, it was just like maybe a couple times throughout. This is a really damn good series, and well, honestly, it was better the second time around. Well worth the purchase too. I would say get the omnibus. Oh, and that's right too. I still haven't checked out the annual. I was supposed to do that. Should probably do it today. So the first annual was so boring that I'm also kind of skeptical to read the second annual. The first annual was like, there's honestly, I was kind of pissed that it wasn't collected in the trades. But now, after reading it for a second time, I'm kind of like, you know what? It doesn't really matter. And I have, so in another book I bought that was not really quality, it was just kind of like a novelty, because I figured that it was because all the first annuals of the respective series was the Ultimate Annual straight, and that's where I get the first annual. The second annual I have on the Kindle. And Kindle is like, for me, is if I say, okay, I'm going to read this book on the Kindle, I never get around to it. Unless, like, I really am adamant about it, and either I remind myself or whatever, it's just because I'm definitely a physical over digital kind of guy, I guess it just doesn't register in my brain. I don't know. But sometimes, I want to say sometimes for one book I did do that, but I don't think I did. Oh, no, I did. For Hardcore, I did read the first issue. It would start out as a pilot season. You'll get that. When I review Hardcore, and I read all the Image books on the 31st of this month. Anyways, Ultimates 2, 8.5 out of 10. And of course, my throat's closing up for no reason. So, let's get... Get a drink. There we go. Nice little interruption there. Love when that happens. Alright. Black Widow Epic Collection Volume 1. Modern Era Epic Collection Volume 1. This was one that actually came in after the fact. Like, well after the fact. I think actually all the library books here came in well after the fact of when I did my main coin. So what I do is, like, sometimes like an appetizer course. It goes the ones in between. Like, the bigger stacks of books. So they're kind of like... My brain doesn't like to work sometimes. So it's like this fat stack of books, or this little stack of books are like 5 trades. And I read that in between because the library books, they haven't all come in yet. But maybe I ordered too many library books, not on purpose. But so I'll do 5 trades, return those 5 trades, and maybe a few movies the next day or the next week. I mean. And then wait for the bigger stack of books to come in. The bigger stack of books is that big stack of books that, video becomes real, that I do a way long video for, and I'm showing them all off, and I'm like, oh, I got a bunch of, that is what I call the main course, where it's 25 books or more, 20 books or more. Plus, OGNs and whatever. But it's usually, when you add in the OGNs, I would say, on average, it is always, like, 30 books. Now, when I'm back at work, it'll be like 22 of these books. I read 1 issue of this per day, and maybe a few OGNs. I try to make it 22 of these. But anyways, that's what I call the main course. Whereas that 22, 25 book stack of books, huge stack. You don't see how big the stack is. I don't show it on camera. But if you're watching like a hour-long video and 45 minutes in, I've just gotten to the 15th book. Then, yeah, that's a bigger stack. Obviously, you'll be adding up in your head. Like, wow, it's a lot of books, That's the main course. But sometimes, books like these will come in after the fact. Like, way after. And this one was one that it's called a materials request. Where I say, hey, the library has this. It's a new release. It's a popular book. Let's get it for this library. And usually, 9 times out of 10, they get the book for me. But Black Widow... Modern Era Epic Collection, Volume 1. There's a lot of introduction, but I like to reiterate things for new viewers. It's partial OCD, like very very minor OCD. Of just wanting to always mention that whenever I bring it up, whenever this comes up. But anyways, so this collects the Devin Grayson 3-issue miniseries, actually 2 of them, because she did 2, but the second one is done by Greg Rucka. The Marvel Max, that's why it says explicit content, it's why it says explicit content, because there's 3 issues of Marvel Max, which for those who don't know, it was Marvel R-rated. We had F-words uncensored, nudity, and all that. Not every one, but this one did have nudity. It was very brief, and there was sexual content because it involves a BDSM club, and it's kind of, it was surprisingly like, wow, it's kind of like, you didn't really beat around the bush at all, did you? Really getting that R rating there, aren't you? The F words weren't as consistent as I thought they'd be. In fact, it was like halfway through issue 1, and you just had 1 F word that one issue. I would say in the 3 issues, you had maybe 6. 1 issue had a lot. It's like, it's a fuck you, fuck you, fuck you kind of thing. But yeah, for the most part, it was just like 1 or 2 per issue. And again, issue 1 just had 1 F word. But so yeah, that was the Greg Rucka 3-issue Marvel Max series. And then you have the Richard K. Morgan 2 6-issue miniseries. And that is where the book gets really kind of tedious, is with the Richard K. Morgan series. It's just basic. I don't know if it's just, I don't know what it is. It feels very underwhelming. But everything else is pretty good. So I would say for those 9 issues, it is worth, is it worth the $50 cover price? Probably not. I would say to get this at a discount. Because, I mean, the Richard K. Morgan, maybe I'll have a complete turnaround my second reading of this comic, but I was ready for it to be done when I was in 2 issues of his 12-issue run. The second story he does has a bit better pacing, but it's just very slow. A lot of dialogue. Like, even for 2006, it felt like it was a lot of dialogue. But all in all, I would give this a 7 out of 10. Modest recommendation. It's really just because of all the other stories in there. But it's 12 issues that are just okay at best versus 9 issues that are really damn good. But it's, it's 12 over 9. You got the bigger number. So, but all in all, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Because it wasn't awful. I did persevere through it just fine. Then we have Venom, the Complete Collection, Volume 1 by Rick Remender. And just like the first time I read this, it is really damn good. And honestly, I like it leaps and bounds way better than Uncanny X-Force. Which I have tried twice to get into it. And it's just, I don't know what it is. I like it enough. But it's not that, oh my god, groundbreaking series, it is one of the best comics of all time. No, it would be like, if honestly, maybe the 100th best comic I've read. But even if I did a video of the 100 best comics of all time, it would get an honorable mention at best. It's just not the book I'm super crazy about at all. And honestly, it's kind of convoluted for me. Like, each time I read it, I thought the first time I was like, oh, because I kept taking breaks in between. And the second time I read it, the first 15 issues, I was reading them pretty consistently, and I was still losing a lot of the plot. But here, it is really damn good. Like, this is honestly what I expected out of X-Force. 100%. I'm surprised that people don't talk about this series enough. They did get the omnibus treatment, so more and more people will be checking it out. And it got Colin Bunn's run that I'm so pissed I didn't pick that one up when I saw it at Barnes & Noble 5 years ago. And that wasn't, thankfully that day it wasn't a quantitative equality day, it was just super expensive. Marvel trades are way too damn expensive. Even 5 years ago, they were super expensive. And nowadays, with tariffs and all that shit, like this right here is gonna be $54.99. Nowadays, it's $54.99. And this book just came out. So, you wanna know why I'm just getting Image trades? It's a great reason. But anyways, Venom Recommender Volume 1. Really damn good. 9 out of 10. It's a must read. Has like perfect pacing. The Spider Island crossover I was kind of getting annoyed with because of where it falls. I don't want to give away what happens. This is a pretty big spoiler, but it's a pretty emotionally heavy point in Flash's life, and for them to just do Spider Island Dan Slott is really annoying. And I get it, Venom is a Spider-Man villain, so when there's a Spider-Man huge event, they gotta have Venom tying with him somehow. And it wasn't too much of an interruption. They still, they would have him fight the villain, and whatever happens, and they have his thoughts, and be thinking about the emotional, resonant thing that happened the previous issue. So you still got that, it still was consecutive, happening, but it was just kind of I wonder what the issue would have been about had it not been a Spider Island crossover. But that's my only complaint. It's really a small nitpick, but it's worth mentioning. It didn't ruin the trade it didn't ruin the pacing for me too much. It was just kind of annoying, and I was kind of glad when it finally ended. Alright, moving on to Green Arrow by Jeff Lemire. And this was just okay. I was very disappointed with this. And it's just way too narrative. Narration is so annoying in this book. The best issue in here is the 23.1 issue, where we focus on the villain for an entire issue rather than a hero, Green Arrow. That had really good pacing. It was a really captivating story. That was the best issue I had read of a comic in a while. It was really that's pushing it a little bit much. But that was when I was okay, so that's why people really like this run of Green Arrow. So if we had that more often, I would understand completely. Right now, as of this recording, as of finishing this book, I don't understand why people like that run so much. It was just okay. Wasn't awful or anything, and I'm sure it was better than what we were getting from Green Arrow New 52 before, but this is just okay. This is a thick trade, and honestly, it could have cut in half and still gotten the same story, regardless. The same beats, whatever. Just way too heavy on the dialogue. And I don't know, reading Benjamin Percy's run on Green Arrow, I never had that problem. Reading all the other Green Arrow books I've read, very few, but all the other Green Arrow books I've read, I never had that issue. And Jeff Lemire knows what good pacing is. Family Tree has great pacing, it's from Image. Royal City, from what I remember, had awesome pacing. And everything else I've read from him had really damn good pacing. Even Sweet Tooth, which was written a while ago, had really good pacing. But this just is way too heavy on the dialogue, and it becomes unnecessary. It's not to the point where Green Arrow is everything he's saying in his mind that it's pretty obvious it's happening. It's not that. It's not super dated, but it's just you don't need this much dialogue. You don't need this many. You don't need this many narration boxes. This is a bit much. It really hurt the overall pacing of the book, the overall enjoyment of the trade and the book itself. And I say this is disappointing, and I give this a 5 out of 10. I was kind of happy to be done with this book, finally. And the Futures End issue, even that, usually I really like the Futures End issues. Those are always the ones I look forward to, and that's super underwhelming, too. Maybe in every read, I'll have a complete turnaround. So the reason why I say that is because it has happened before. It's happened plenty of times before. I'll feel that way about a book, read it a second time around, and then like it a lot more the second time around. Ultimates was kind of like that. I was a bit underwhelmed by Ultimates the first time I read it for about the same reasons too. But then the second time I read it, complete turnaround. But that was I still really liked Ultimates the first time I read it. And I think actually I said Volume 2 was better than Volume 1. But anyways, Batman the Black Mirror. Pick of the week. This was really damn good. And so the Black Mirror storyline. I was surprised that it was only 3 issues, and this trade collects 12. And then every story arc after Black Mirror is even better. Now, I do have to spoil something, so the handout in spoilers. Not a huge spoiler, but still a spoiler. When we get to James Gordon, Barbara Gordon's brother, I always love that character because he's so interesting, like Jeffrey Dahmer in the Batman universe, and this is just like even better. Scott Snyder writing this character, like honestly, I want Scott Snyder to be reading to always write, or Gail Simone to always write the James Gordon stories, and it made me really want a James Gordon omnibus. I feel like it was enough for an omnibus. I'm not certain how many times he's appeared in Batman. But it's like whenever he appears, he steals the show and is the cause of one of the best Batman storylines of all time, or one of the best new 52 storylines of all time. Not gonna say Batgirl because I haven't read a whole lot of Batgirl. It's been all new 52, all the new 52 run, including the much hated, for me at least, Brendan Fletcher run, and then a few of the Rebirth era trades. It's been about it. But anyways, getting kind of sidetracked here. So we put the hand down now. But that little what I just mentioned made this book even better and better and better. This is definitely worth the price of admission, 100%. Actually, it's only $16.99. I think they did a reprint. Reprinted like $19.99. Hopefully, they always keep it at $16. Oh, this is an evergreen title, so they don't do a reprint and increase the price. But definitely get this trade or the deluxe edition. It's 100% worth that price. 9 out of 10. Or you know what? 9.5. Batman and Robin, just as good as Volume 1. I'm gonna start to keep this brief because, you know, but it's just Volume 2. I just reviewed Volume 1. In Volume 1 I really liked, like I thought this was really the damn good run. Deserves the omnibus treatment, get the omnibus, all that. It's really damn good. 9 out of 10, or whatever I gave Volume 1. I think it should have been 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, honestly. Then we get to Tony S. Daniels, Volume 2 of Detective Comics. And this was good enough, you know, nothing too egregious. But this trade, this hardcover, feels the need to put I had to put sticky notes to remind myself the next time I read this that the backups are at the back of the book, not at the back of each issue. So for 5 days, when I thought I was reading, like, I really hope it wasn't when I'm still doing 25 books. Because I like it to be 25 books when I'm reading the full issue of each trade I'm reading. And I'm OCD. It's 100% me being OCD. But for 5 days, it was, if it was 21, it was 20. If it was 19, it was 18. And I'm pretty sure that's what it was. The most I had read in those 5 days was 21, so now it's 20. But why do you put the backups at the back of the hardcover and not at the back of each issue? Because someone like me doesn't know any better is just gonna read the issue and be like, okay, that felt a little bit, shorter, but because of the pacing not being the greatest in this book, like a Green Arrow, it was pretty heavy on dialogue, but not too bad. I was kind of thankful that it ended where it did, but the backups are pretty damn good. Kind of forgettable. Honestly, this whole entire trade is pretty forgettable. I shouldn't say trade, it's a hardcover. Honestly, this whole entire volume is pretty forgettable, including Tony S. Daniels' run on Detective Comics, New 52 in general. But from what I do remember, it was pretty damn good. I liked it enough. But you know, I remember bits and pieces, obviously, from each trade. It's not that bad, but it's kind of just middle of the road, mid, as the kids say nowadays. And I give this a 5 out of 10. Honestly, I give it a 6 out of 10, but for how much that this trade doing the backups at the back of the book, it goes from a 6 out of 10 to a 5 out of 10. I know it's me being petty, but honestly, I'd probably only give like a 5.5 out of 10 if the backups were where they belonged. But 5 out of 10, mild recommendation. Volume 1 is much better. Volume 1 is what I wanted out of that series, I guess you'd say. And the pacing was really good, honestly, in Volume 1. Like, it was a lot better than I remember it being. But Volume 2, the main issue is that the main storyline feels more like a Flash story than a Batman story. And the first volume fit in with Batman, but the volume 2 was like, okay, where's Flash? Oh no, this is Batman. What, can you at least have a crossover? No, okay, not gonna have a crossover with Flash. So why are we getting this storyline when it feels like it's a Flash book? It feels more in line with Flash than with Batman. What the hell is going on here? But it was whatever. Now I just said, oh, complete turnaround. I've had complete turnaround with books, and even with the heavy dialogue, maybe Green Arrow the second time I'll read it. I'll really like it, and maybe something doubtful. Well, Batman Killing Time by Tom King is exactly what I was talking about when I said it's happened before. Because the first time I read Killing Time, I was annoyed with how much dialogue there was, how much I jumped around in the timelines. Like it's like, oh, we're now 2 days after what happens in the main storyline. Now it's 2 hours before. Now it's way back in BC times. They do that. They go way back to BC. Now it's here. Now it's there. It just jumps around so much. But from what I remember, at least it was like, okay, here's the BC, here's what happens consecutively in BCE times. Here's what happened 2 hours before the main event, and here's what was happening 2 weeks before, or 2 weeks before, 2 months before, and that kind of thing. I don't think that ever went 2 months before, but I'm just trying to give an example. But it jumps around a lot, but it's honestly captivating. I was actually captivated. And even though each issue was 32 to 35 pages, I didn't really feel the length, especially as it went along. This is one of Tom King's books that I can actually say I liked throughout, and thus it gets an 8 out of 10, and a recommendation too. This is really, really damn good, and I honestly now want to check out reread Penguin Volume 1. Now, I think the library had Penguin Volume 2. Or am I just thinking they would because it came out and I don't know. But I'm hoping to read. No, actually they didn't because I would have seen it. Alright. The Boys. Omnibus Volume 1. First time I read it, I really liked it. Second time, I really like it. I don't really understand why people say that the comics suck. In comparison to the TV show, yeah, I can see, you're saying, oh, a TV show, does this a lot better than the comics do, and this, and that, and that. And yeah, the TV show is, this is the rough draft. The TV show is the final draft. But this is more like the third draft that Garth Ennis published. And he was kind of getting annoyed with how many times he was, oh, I don't like how this happens in a book, and I don't like that happens in a book, and no, this shouldn't happen this early, so let's do a second draft and make the pacing a bit more consistent, that, or whatever. It doesn't feel like a first draft. It does feel like a third draft. But the TV show feels like the polished final draft that you publish, and it ends up being exactly what you wanted from the series. But this is still good. I still say I will die on this hill that this is still worth checking out if you like the TV show. It's a lot more crude, a lot more definitely the TV show is already R-rated, but this takes what that show does and kind of dials it up to 11. There's stuff in here that even I was that's a bit much. I wasn't offended by it, and I was it's a bit much. I can understand why people wouldn't like that. Maybe be turned off by the book because that happens. But even then, it's kind of brief. Actually very brief. But the moments in general, yeah, I can understand. But all in all, this is still worth checking out if you like the TV show. So another book that came in after I ordered after this. So this wasn't a library had, and this wasn't a materials request. This was one I didn't even know they had for the longest time. But this is Elixir by Frank J. Barbiere, who I thought was done with Image Comics, but he's coming back in October. Now that pisses me off because since 2017, he hasn't written shit for Image. And he's been doing Comixology originals, consistently. Why not bring that story instead of doing for Image, do it for Comixology originals so I have it for free? And I have to wait for the trade to come out, and it's already October, issue 1's coming out. So that, there's a little tangent there, a little rant there. That, I understand, doesn't make sense to a whole lot of people. It's just being completist. You know, like what's it good? So Cullen Bunn hasn't written for Image in a long time, and honestly, I half expect him to do something in November. New series, new ongoing. Um, but it's just knowing that for now, Cullen Bunn hasn't done anything for Image. I have everything he's done for Image. It's just a nice little novelty. You know, it's I chose to get books from this publisher, for comics from this publisher, and it pays off when I have everything that the author did immensely for me. But now I have to put Frank J. Barbier's on the other side of the shelves. So the way I ordered my shelves is this. So it's like, because it goes in an L shape. So yeah, it's exactly an L shape. And on this side of the L shape is where I have all like the recommender books. And I'm never gonna have all of Recommender's Image work. Even if he stops right now, I'll never get to that. That day will never come. So I have all the Recommender books there, the Jerry Duggan books, Tim Seeley, and Tim Seeley is just like not a writer I'm super crazy about, but like Revival, I want to check that one out. So I got the compendium. But anyways, and they have like the Darkness and Witchblade trades that they just keep coming out with the complete collections, and they're not getting caught up. Like they're just barely getting caught up. And all those series that it's not all of that author's work, because they have either things coming out right now from Image, or whatever other reason. But then on this side, I have like all the Curtis J. Weeb books. Curtis J. Weeb is, I don't think at least, ever gonna write for Image, or I think at least. So I have on that side. So it's annoying. It's annoying. But anyways, Elixir. Going back to that. This one was just okay. Very underwhelming. Very kind of just. Not, I mean to say underwhelming. I wasn't expecting much from this because I haven't read enough of either of these guys' work to have any real opinion about it. Although Avengers World I did really like, and that's Frank J. Barbier. He writes the second half of that series. But this was just okay, passable. Okay, the second I read this, so this is an OGN, and ordinarily I'd read this all in one sitting. I couldn't bring myself to do that. About halfway, I gave up, went to bed, and the next night, I finished it. And honestly, that second night was a lot better. So, but all in all, I give this a 6 out of 10. Dawn Runner, yet another Ron V book I'm not super crazy about. This one was at least better. I wasn't completely annoyed and bored with this one. It did have really damn good pacing. It's kind of, from what I could gather what it was about, it's kind of confusing. From what I could gather, it was about like kind of like a Transformers kind of thing with the mechs and they're fighting and it's like that. And that was like, they knew how to just have no dialogue and have the action take front stage and all of that shit. They knew how to do that, and that was nice. But all in all, this was very underwhelming. Like in the action sequences, I was glad that they were there because if there was any more dialogue, not even dialogue. Because if it was full of dialogue instead, I probably would have hated this book a lot more. But as is, it was good enough. I give it a 6.5. I'll be generous and give it a 6.5. But Ron V has never been that creator I'm super crazy about. Hellboy University Omnibus, it doesn't say it's Omnibus, and it's as thick as the omnibuses get from Dark Horse. And this one, I remember being like a lot better the first time I read it. This is one of those rare books that it's the second time I actually don't like it as much as I did the first time. But I don't remember what book that happened with, but there was a book this happened with, where I read it the first time, I really loved it. Second time I was like, man, that was okay. When the third time I was like, no, it's actually really good. I felt this way the same way I did the first time. Not more like, that's happened before. I mean, I don't remember exactly what it happened with. I can't remember, but it has happened before, and it's happened enough. But this one was just okay. So this collects 3 storylines. Sledgehammer 44 is still the standout, but the first one was a lot more boring than I remember it being, and then the third storyline is pretty damn good too. But I honestly, what's kind of fun about the third story is I like the stuff that isn't what you bought the book for. I don't want to give away what the third story is about, although I think anybody who knows their Hellboy lore, when I say it's about the Visitor, you'll know who that character is, and it's not a spoiler, by the way. saying who it focuses on. It literally says on the back of the book the visitor and how and why he stayed. But when it focuses on him and his wife, that's actually more interesting than the Hellboy stuff. Yeah, look at him. It's not a spoiler. It happens. Honestly, it's a lot more interesting when it happens to the Hellboy stuff. The Hellboy stuff was interesting. I liked it, but I was like, hey, can we get back to the him and his wife? Like, that's actually interesting, and it's honestly a pretty powerfully moving storyline. Without giving too much away, it's what people want to see from Superman, and they cover it here. But anyways, all in all, I would give this an 8 out of 10. I still think it's well worth purchasing the hardcover for. And honestly, the first issue, or the first storyline, which was, what was it even called? Rasputin. And honestly, I almost want to say the first time I read Rasputin, I thought it was the kind of like the skip it of all the ones. The one that wasn't as good as the rest. I almost want to say I always felt that way about the book. But because of how I liked the second and third storylines, I forgot about how much I didn't really like the first storyline in retrospect. But I also want to say that, I don't know. That, as I say, is that I get to finally put these books back away. The lighted books, obviously, I gotta not put away. But what I'm saying is that I get to put the books in my PC in the stack in the order that I want to put them in now. Because I think I've read enough to where I have one side is going to be all of them that I've read this past few months, and then the other side is ones I haven't. Because when I was going through these books, because I knew that I knew that I was not going to get to the library as consistently as I normally get to, and to not make it too much on everyone else, I decided if I'm going there anyways, the only times I went, the past few times I went, was because I was getting movies for the family to watch that weekend. So like, you're going there anyways, you're going there for a good enough reason. Yeah, you might as well get Elixir. You might as well get Dawn Runner. Did I even say it was Dawn Runner? That Ron V. Trey? I did. I had to have. I said Dawn Runner, as an Ron V. Well, yada. Alright, but anyways, that, as I say, is that the next comic review will be all the image trades. I have finished them all. I just wanted to do, because that's a new thing for this channel. 31st of every month will be me reviewing all the image books I read that month. Now, Invincible Volume 2 will not be included, and I didn't even write it down on my notes app, because I don't include that. It was a library's copy of the hardcovers. I have the compendiums, and even 2 hardcovers don't take up what 1 compendium takes up. So I can't at the end of the year be like, oh, no. That's it. That was kind of funny. I heard something downstairs, and I was like, wait, someone just came inside, but I heard that outside. I was like, no, there's only one person here. But anyways, that is as they say, is that. 38 minutes long, damn.